Hello everybody, this is Jacob. Welcome back to Sunday Yap Session, and y'all, I am a recovering people pleaser, and I want to talk about that today. But before we get into that, this is Sunday Yap Session, where every single Sunday I hop on here and yap at y'all about something with hopefully some sort of kind of through line to carry us through the entire narrative. Sometimes we do better than others. And if you're interested in yapping with me on a weekly basis, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That would be great. And if you enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like and leave me a little comment because I read all of them and I interact with all of them, and I really appreciate you being here. Today we are drinking a Seaside Watermelon Punch from Polar Seltzer. This is pretty good. I don't really drink Polar. I haven't really had it that many times, but I do love me like a bubble water that vaguely tastes like the idea of something. I know that like LaCroix and those seltzer waters are like very polarizing for whatever reason, but as someone who got acid reflux bad, I cannot be drinking soda. This is what I can do. This is these are for me. But I think a lot of people that drink these do try to pretend that they're like as good as soda. Like I'm not gonna pretend that like this is as good as a Fanta. I'm not gonna pretend that this is as good as like a Dr. Pepper or something. Like it's good enough. But it'll never be the same. I feel like overall though, I'm less of a soda person and more of like a juice and tea person. Both like the healthy juices and also like those juices that are full of like so much high fructose corn syrup that they probably make you like fluorescent inside. Like orange high C. That's my favorite drink. I love that. Ooh, and some like pink lemonade too. I love sugar. I am a fiend for sugar. I love me a sugary drink. This will never be the same. This is just like, this is like the nicotine patch if normal soda is like a cigarette. But we're not supposed to be talking about bubble water. We're supposed to be talking about my people-pleasing tendencies because that's been on my mind lately today. And the thing that made me really want to talk about this and the thing that made me think about this is this TikTok that I saw, and I'll try to put it on screen if I can find it.
Y'all. Who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando? Me.
How was that funny?
It's just a meme, girl. Relax.
Am I the only one that don't find that funny?
Pretty
that
much.
video's
Hilarious.
Like, how y'all sitting here cackling and giggling about some Four Seasons Orlando when we about to go to war?
Here she go. Please.
How many of y'all even registered to vote? Me.
But it was basically like one of those POVs and talking about people that kind of like quote unquote kill the vibe and take things too seriously. And sometimes I feel like I am that friend, and it's like an ongoing struggle kind of grappling with me taking things seriously and me like seeing things for what they are, but also not wanting to like ruin the vibe. And so I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit because I think that does stem from my need to be a people pleaser. And to give you a little bit of background about myself, we're not going to get too deep into the lore and the trauma because that's what my therapist is for, and we got to get through that there before I bring that all to you. So as a light little overview, I grew up in a very, very chaotic household. There was a lot of nonsense going on, a lot of situations that should not have happened. And I also grew up in the evangelical church as well. So I was taught to basically like minimize myself, focus on serving others, do my little good deeds so God loves me or whatever, and I'm gonna go to heaven, yada, yada, yada. I have not been a part of that for a minute now. So glad to be out of that. At some point, we will get into like my ex-evangelical journey because y'all, I was deep in it. I was so deep in it, and I'm so glad I am out of that space now because I reflect on that time and I really, not that I regret it because not that I had really like any agency because I was in like the church and stuff like that through like my childhood and stuff. So it's not like I was actively choosing it, but that time definitely did a number on me, and I think is a big part too of why I am this people pleasing, not self-serving, wanting to minimize myself to make everything better around me and to help others type of person. So we'll get into that another day. But that's a little bit of kind of pretext as to why I've become this person and how I find myself a lot of times. Basically minimizing any of my desires, anything that I want, anything that I think is important, either for the sake of helping out somebody else or for just maintaining the peace. Especially when I was younger, a lot of my people pleasing was all this chaos that was happening around me, all of these bad things were happening around me. If I was like neutral, if I was just good in the situation, if I was doing things that didn't cause a problem, it didn't make people angry at me or didn't make people upset, it was almost like a way for me to kind of distance myself from these issues. Okay, but we're getting too deep in the weeds. I want to talk about one specific thing. So yes, sometimes I feel like I'm interacting with situations, and we're going to talk about like the pandemic specifically, but like other things too, because pandemic is where this always comes up. There are so many times when I'm interacting with people, both people I care about and people that I really like appreciate and do want to please and do want to be pleasant around, but also people that I don't even like, and that's the part that perplexes me. It's not even just a means to an end or with people that I'm cool with and want to stay cool with. It's like literally anybody. Anytime any sort of conflict comes up, times where I need to say something that I think is important or necessary, my gut reaction is to minimize minimize myself and then think to myself like, okay, well, like, don't ruin the vibe. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. We don't need to be super vigilant about everything. And I find that so annoying, and it's so annoying to deal with. And let me know in the comments if y'all are dealing with this too, because I cannot be the only person. I know that y'all are some people pleasers out there too, and we're all dealing with this. Let's tap it in the comments and lament over this, because all of this is a struggle. But yeah, there's just like a constant grapple of wanting to not be the one who's killing the vibe and not taking everything so seriously, and also being someone who stands by my values and stands by what I believe in. And masking in the pandemic is one of the most prominent, common things that I'm facing this issue with. For example, pretty soon I'm going to be hanging out with some people that I'm close with and I'm really good friends with, and I'm very excited for it. It's going to be a very fun time, and I'm looking forward to it. And if you're the people I'm talking about, it's all love. I'm not trying to air out y'all business. I just need a see, I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to like, I'm not the problem. I just need it. We just need to get into it. So there's some people that I'm going to be hanging out with soon. And one thing that's really important to me is that if we're going to be doing these social interactions where we're getting together, where it's like a decent amount of us, we need to be taking COVID precautions. There are more that I would like to take than what we're going to do, but the main one that is like my big, we need to do this, is all doing a COVID test beforehand. Now, these are people that I'm close friends with, that I hang out with very, very regularly, that we all like each other, we all get along. So there is no reason for me to feel like fearful of these people or to be worried that they're going to have a negative reaction. Nothing is going to end over this. But I felt so much hesitation and so much nervousness about asking them to all do a COVID test beforehand. And when I was thinking about doing this, it kept going back to like, well, I don't want to be annoying, or I don't want to ruin the vibe, or I don't want to like make this thing that is supposed to be fun and exciting kind of bring it back to reality. And it feels like so annoying having to be the one to do that. Or even when I'm dealing with other situations where like one of my friends will say something and it hurts my feelings or whatever, and instead of addressing it, I immediately go back to, well, if I say something about this, like maybe they're gonna think that I'm annoying and they're not gonna want to deal with me anymore, so I should just not say anything anymore, and I should just roll with the punches, and it's fine, and it's not that deep, and it's not that serious. And again, shout out to my therapist, because me and him, we're working on this and we're making a lot of progress. I am so much better than I used to be with this stuff, but it's still this constant return to internalizing anytime I have any sort of gripe or frustration, or even just mild annoyance with someone's behavior or a situation, or I want to make things deep or take them seriously. It's this internal monologue of me feeling like I am doing something wrong, and then getting mad at myself for even like suggesting something. And especially when it's stuff that we should all be doing too, it feels very annoying, or things that feel like obvious too. I think that's a part of it as well. Sometimes I feel like when I'm bringing things up, it's things that we should all know, or things that we should all be on the same page about, and it feels annoying that I'm even having to like bring them up. But then I also have to remember too, like if these are people that I care about and people that I find important and people that I want to be spending time with and be in proximity with and so on and so forth, I need to be telling people these things. And this makes me think about one of my TikTok mutuals, Shaheem, who, if you're not following them, they're a licensed therapist who makes content on TikTok. Very, very good videos, very, very informative content. But they made a video talking about how basically people-pleasing behavior is inherently manipulative, and they got a lot of smoke for that. But they're totally right, because in these scenarios, rather than speaking my mind and saying how I feel, regardless if I'm going to ruin the vibe or not, I'm minimizing how I feel, I'm minimizing how I'm thinking and how I feel about a situation, and then allowing them all to think that I'm perfectly fine with what's going on. And then of course they're not going to respond, and of course they're not going to change their behavior, because they don't know that there is any behavior that needs to be changed. And over the last year, there's been so much grappling and so much back and forth with myself on that. And I was talking to my therapist about this recently. It's so annoying that it's like a constant work and a constant thing. These kind of deeper intellectual, psychological problems, and it's an ongoing battle, and it's something that I have to keep working at, really frustrate me, especially as an analytical thinker, because I am very much so an analytical thinker, to my own detriment a lot of times, where I really try to break things down and really try to think about things and understand why they're happening and break them all apart. And when it comes to like my feelings and these people-pleasing tendencies and things like that, there is no like logic to it. It is nonsense. It is just responses in reaction to things I've either experienced in the present or in the past, and I just have to like navigate them. And it's frustrating, y'all. It is so tiring. I find myself getting very annoyed, and then I get mad at myself, and then it's like a whole cycle, and it's like a whole thing. I don't know too. I don't even know if I have the necessary point about where I wanted to go with this. I just wanted to talk about like people pleasing in general, because I feel it's not something that I hear a lot of people talk about in any sort of public way, because partially it's really embarrassing too. Like it's embarrassing to like come on here and admit like, yeah, I'm someone who minimizes myself and lets people walk all over me because it's easier and more convenient than actually speaking out for myself. That's not like cool. That's not sexy. That's not alluring. That's not something that people want to be known for. So I get why people don't talk about this very much. It is very, very annoying to deal with. It is very, very frustrating, and I do not enjoy it. It is one of the things that I like the least about myself, and I'm doing a lot of effort to change about myself, which pat myself on the back a little bit because I am doing a really, really good job. I've been encountering a lot of situations where I think in the past I would have handled them a lot differently, and now I'm getting a lot more confident in speaking my mind and saying how I feel and not trying to control other people's reactions. That's what I was trying to get with the manipulative part, because it's basically controlling how people are, or attempting to, because ultimately you can't control how anyone's going to react. But it's this weird attempt to control people's behavior around you by augmenting yourself and what you believe in and what you value and what's important to you, rather than just being yourself. It's a very, very bizarre experience. And I think I've made a lot of really good progress in some of the situations I've been dealing with recently, where I would have just minimized it and then just be bitter about the fact that people aren't changing and aren't doing what I think they should be, or interacting in ways I think they should be, or not doing things like whatever, because I'm not making it like apparent at all. So if you're someone who's also struggling with people-pleasing behavior, we just got to start speaking up. We just got to start speaking our mind. And if people get mad at us, and if people have something to say about things that we want, especially when they're reasonable and normal and things you should expect out of friends or family members or relationships, those people probably shouldn't be the people that you're around anyway. And that's been a bitter pill that I've had to swallow. And I think I've talked about this a little bit before, but becoming more and more okay with allowing my social circle to shrink and really making sure that the people I'm around are people that I really want to be around, and people that really are like aligned with the values that I have, and also people that I don't feel like I have to minimize myself to be around, because I can do all the internal work in the world and I can work on this till the day I die. But if I'm surrounded by people where I constantly am being made to feel like I have to do that, it's so much easier to just be with people that I'm aligned with from the jump, and there isn't so much divergence in what we value and what's important to us, and so on and so forth. And in professional settings, I think that's completely different and a lot harder, especially for someone like me who, in conjunction with people-pleasing tendencies, also am dealing with trying to stop masking so much and minimizing who I am, like my blackness and my queerness and all of that, to become a palatable employee, essentially. Black people watching, I know this is something y'all feel, like navigating the workplace and trying to be your authentic self, especially in like predominantly white spaces, predominantly straight spaces for like the queer parts of myself as well. It's tough being like an authentic person that shows up as who you are, not minimizing yourself, not masking, but also being someone who's professional and hireable, and well, not even professional. It's like just being likable. I don't think we talk about how much of navigating professional situations and navigating the workforce a lot of times is less about being qualified and being competent and more about being likable and being someone that people want to be around. And when you're so different from the people you work with, that becomes harder and harder, and there's so much more you have to do and so much minimizing yourself that unfortunately a lot of us are faced with. And that paired with the people pleasing is a double whammy of stuff that I don't want to deal with. So I've been doing so much work over the last year trying to like shed all of that off and do so much internal work to make sure that I am not having to do that anymore, and trying to craft a life where I don't have to do that anymore. I'm trying to do like a lot of life changes right now because I love the person I am. I am very happy with myself. I love me. I love my values. I love who I am. It is so much less, well, to some degree, it's so much less about how I feel about myself and more about how I feel like I'm perceived and how I can navigate the world and things like that. And I guess it ultimately does go back to self, but it's these external pressures that are telling us that like we're not whatever. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to rant about that a little bit. And there's not really any sort of grand conclusion or kind of wrap up because this is a work in progress. This is probably something I'm going to be working on for the rest of my life, or at least a very, very long time, because it is something that I've gotten so programmed into and I'm so used to doing. And the worst part is it works. That's the killer part of it all. And that and masking, I think that's a part that we don't really talk about. We talk about how bad people pleasing is. We talk about how bad masking is and how bad suppressing yourself is. But we don't talk about the fact that it is a very, very effective coping strategy that will get you far. And that's the hardest part for me about breaking out of that, is that doing all of that, both voluntarily and involuntarily, has gotten me very, very far. I don't know if I would have gotten as far as I am now in my social settings and like professional life and so on and so forth if I hadn't done these behaviors and these activities. And ultimately, it's not worth it. The mental turmoil and the draining that comes into just performing basically on a day-to-day basis is really, really annoying and really draining. But also the check clears. The check clears, and we don't talk about that enough. But I think ultimately it's about self-love and self-acceptance, and that is never going to be more valuable than a check, regardless of how good the check be sometimes. I don't know, and I mean, for some people, the check is worth it. And if you look around and kind of clock the tea that is around, there are a lot of people who are happily cashing that check regularly and are minimizing themselves and are perfectly fine with being a shell of themselves if it gets too far. And again, like, I can't blame them because I get the hustle. It works really, really well. But for me, at least, I'm at the point where it just like does not matter anymore. It's not worth it to me anymore. I would rather be my full authentic self and be happy with who I am, not feeling like I have to walk around eggshells or manage other people's expectations and be worried about other people's behavior. Me and my feelings and my thoughts and who I am and who I want to be and where I want to go is so much more important than that. And that's kind of just the thing I have to remind myself. Reminding myself it's always going to be me. I'm always going to be number one. I need to, whether I'm feeling it or I'm not feeling it super actively, just keeping that in mind. So yeah, that's pretty much the main thing I wanted to yap about today. I think this is probably going to be a brief one. I know I said that last time, but I don't think I've been here that much yapping. Gonna try to take it easy for the rest of the week. I'm very excited for the aforementioned social hangout that we're going to. I need a little break and just a chill, relaxing time, so I'm really looking forward to that. And just getting outside too. I feel like I am always so cooped up in my apartment and not enjoying being outside, mostly because it's super, super hot outside where I am. I think it's 97 degrees outside today, and the little brief bit that I went outside today, I've already like drenched in sweat, and I really hate being sweaty. So that's part of the reason why I'm not so outside so much. I need fall to come back. I need spring to come back because that's when I really enjoy being outside. This summer heat is just disgusting and I hate it. But I'm hopefully gonna be swimming a lot, so that'll be nice. So if I come back next episode and I'm like 3 shades darker, it's because I've been out in the sun all weekend and getting my sun on. So yeah, I think that's all I got for y'all today. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching the last video too. I know that a lot of people responded really well to that apartment tour. I really enjoyed making that, even though it took me forever to make, so I'm really glad that y'all enjoyed that. And hopefully you enjoyed this video today too. Let me know in the comments below, are you a people pleaser? Are you working on recovering from your people pleasing tendencies? How are you dealing with that? How are you struggling with that? How are you succeeding in that? I want to hear about that because I think too, it's been really helpful for me hearing other people's perspective on these things. So I would love to interact with you below and talk about unlearning the burdens of being a people pleaser. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week on Sunday Yap Session.